Well, my parents actually are artists. You might not know that just by speaking and talking to them at first, but my dad has actually been an artist for a really long time. He was a painter, like had amazing drawings and stuff. And then my mom actually used to draw a lot too. And when my parents first met, that was something that they bonded over, their art. Mm. Yeah. And my mom doesn't really draw or do anything anymore. My dad sometimes still does, but they passed that down to their children. And Joshua, he's pretty good at drawing. I don't think he doesn't do it as much. But Caleb is an amazing artist. I think Caleb is probably the best, like, hands-on visual artist out of all the kids. He loves, like, to draw, like, comics and superheroes, and he paints landscapes, and just, yeah, he's a really talented artist as far as, like, pen, paper, paint, canvas goes. And then
he plays piano.
He does. He also plays piano and cajon.
The cajon.
He's very rhythmic, and yeah, he's very talented. A lot more introverted, but still an amazing artist as well. And then as for other siblings who are into art, Levi loves to sing. He does take piano lessons. He usually only plays for like recitals and stuff. He's not old enough to like be in a position where he's like performing like on a consistent basis for anything, but he plays all the time at home. He's also involved in theater, loves attention, loves to receive admiration from people, being on stage and all of that. So in that way, we're very similar. He's 14.
Wow.
So I'm like 10 years older than him.
Wow. Yeah. And I've known you guys since 2011. So
Dang.
he was a little...
It's been like 8 years.
Yes.
He was like a toddler, basically.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, that brings me to what I guess would be your first exposure to some kind of acting. Mm-hmm. Now, at the church, you have an event every Christmas called...
The Road to Bethlehem.
And what is it?
The Road to Bethlehem is a 6-part walkthrough drama that tells the story of Jesus' birth and gives like the entire story in 6 scenes, 5 depending on whether or not the 6th scene is added on or not, because if you walk through and see, all of the parts, it's Mary being told by the angel Gabriel that she's going to have a baby. And she's like, this doesn't make any sense. How is this happening? And then, the 2nd scene, so on. And then the 5th scene is the Nativity. And then the last scene is like an optional thing, but you have to have a toddler that's able to play Jesus when he was about 2 to 3 years old. So if you don't have one, then you can't really do it. But yeah, it just goes through and tells the whole story of Jesus' birth and why he came to earth and the real meaning of Christmas. So,
and whose idea was this?
My dad's. He has a lot of crazy ideas. Some of them are good.
Of course, if you don't know, her dad is a pastor.
He is.
And so he created this... How many years? At least 10 or more or something like that?
10 to 15. I can't remember the exact date or year that we started, but I was probably in middle school.
And so were you in the show?
I was the Mary in the first scene. That was my role for like years. That was like my thing. Like whenever we did Road to Bethlehem, I was Mary in scene 1. And then I jumped around a little bit, but that was my main role.
And what was it like playing Mary?
It was fun. I usually would have a different angel every year. So I would make friends with one angel, and then I would get a different one the next year.
Everybody loved Chase.
Yeah, Chase was amazing.
He was scary, but he'd pop out.
Big, 6-foot-tall professional baseball player. Super fun to be around. We would always laugh and joke and and cut up in the back, and then we'd be like, oh, there's people coming, we're doing a scene, okay. And he would always bring me Rockstar energy drinks, which I was not allowed to have from my parents, but he would speak them and give them to me. So, yeah, that's probably why he was my favorite. He was just a fun guy.
Well, it's about, we can be out there sometimes almost 4 hours.
Yeah.
The show. I've been involved in it, too. I've played Joseph in the second scene.
Yeah, true. In the dream scene.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes, like, depending on the year, it can be really cold out there. Outside, it can be wet. It's, like, grueling and very, very taxing. But it's for a good cause, to spread the gospel and the true meaning of Christmas.
And, of course, the whole family's involved.
Yes.
Whether they're acting in the show. I think all of your sibs have been in the walkthrough.
They didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
My dad needed as many people as he could get, and he had 6 kids, so they all were part of it.
Lots of shepherds.
Yes.
And angels. Mm-hmm. They always pop up. And I know we had it mostly at Weeki Wachee Park, which was a good venue. People would come through, and we had thousands of people.
Yeah.
We'd have to be ready to
go at a moment's notice.
Absolutely. So, this was some acting, and did this spark a new interest in you in wanting to pursue acting?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, since it was a part of, like, a thing that we did for church, I didn't immediately think that it was something that I wanted to pursue professionally, but then when I got into theater in high school, and, you know, I graduated, and I was working and, like, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and I was still acting, you know, in theatrical productions, but I wasn't really sure, like, do I want to go to college? Do I want to get a degree in something? I didn't want to go and, like, waste time and money on something that I didn't want to do or wasn't sure that I wanted to do. So once I kind of figured that out, what I wanted to go for, and then I did want to be an actress, I decided to go up to New York. And the first year was at Word of Life, which is a Bible institute, and I was on the drama team there, so there's a little bit of acting experience. And I would, you know, sing and play piano and perform for different, like, chapel services, and they would have, like, coffee shop, you know, nights where a bunch of musicians would get up and perform, so I did those kinds of things there too. And I was on a traveling drama team that I also led worship on, so it was good. And then after that year, I met my now fiance there. We've been together for 3.5 years. So after we completed that year at Word of Life, graduated, I moved to New York City, where I thought I was just going to, like, I don't know, somehow, like, make it in the big city, and, like, somebody was going to discover me, and, like, it was just going to be a dream come true. And it was a rude awakening. It was so much more difficult than I had thought it was going to be. But still a good experience, good learning experience.
What made it so difficult? What was the preconceived, you know, let's break down some of the myths that people might think.
Right. I mean, to a lot of people that, you know, have just heard about New York or been there for vacations, it's just like this magical place where, like, dreams come true. And I mean, I guess it can be, and it is in a sense, but it's also a place that is, you know, extremely expensive to live in and hard to live in. You know, it's saturated with people, and it's always crowded, and it smells. It's really dirty, depending on where you go. Yeah, some of it is worse than others, but yeah. And just, like, being an artist in the city, like, everything is so expensive. Artists generally don't make that much money, and you're constantly struggling to survive and to pay your bills, and just, you know, it was a constant struggle. So it wasn't as magical as I had originally thought. But I did have some amazing experiences. Getting to sing with the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir was probably a highlight for me.
How did that happen?
I didn't know where I was going to go to church. It was my first Sunday in Brooklyn, and I didn't know anybody. I was by myself. I didn't even have a roommate when I first moved to that school in my apartment. So I Googled where the closest church was, and the Brooklyn Tabernacle was about a 10-minute walk from my apartment. So I said, why not? I've heard of the Brooklyn Tabernacle, and they have good music, and I'm just going to go check it out. So I did. And they just so happened to be holding auditions for the choir that Sunday. And I told my boyfriend at the time, who is now my fiance, via text messages that they were having these auditions. And he was like, oh, you should definitely audition. And I was like, okay, there's hundreds of people that are auditioning for this. There's no way I'm going to get in. Like, I don't think I should even try. And he was like, just do it. Like, you never know. Like, anything can happen. So I did. I made it through the first round. I was waiting, for a long time, but made it through to the second round of auditions. And then they got down my information. They had me come back and meet with the choir director, who is Jim Cymbala's wife, Carol Cymbala. Amazing woman, very, very sweet and talented. And I had an interview with her, sang for her. She asked if I would be willing to, become a member of the church in order to be in the choir, and I said yes. And then I came on Sunday, and they were like, yeah, you're in. So I was like, it's amazing. I still have the little keychain thing on my keys that it says, Brooklyn Tabernacle on it, and we have to scan in. It was almost like scanning in, like clocking in for a job.
What?
Because we had to be there at a certain time, which was always a struggle for me on Sunday morning.
Wow.
Yeah. So I still have it on there, just like as a fond little keepsake of, all the memories I made there.
I mean, backpedal a little, because you got into acting, but what made you decide, you know what, maybe I want to audition for this or try this? What was there something that you saw or, performance that made you say, maybe I want to try this?
Well, my first audition for stage, for theatrical, was a suggestion from my music teacher who taught me to sing and play simultaneously. And she said, oh, you should connect with my friends at this theater company. I think you would be an awesome fit. Just because she knew me as a person, and I was very, expressive, didn't have a lot of acting experience per se, but I was very heavily involved in music. And she said that, yeah, I think you would be a perfect fit for them. You should audition for their play. So I did, but I had to do a video audition because I was going on a mission trip out of the country when they were having their auditions. So I played and sang a song, and then I did a lyrical dance, and I sent that video in. And I think I did a monologue as well. Yeah, I did the song, the monologue, and the dance. Sent that in, and I was auditioning for the role of Hava in Fiddler on the Roof. Mm-hmm. And I was in Costa Rica during the callbacks. So they wanted me for the role of Hava, but I didn't get it because I couldn't make it to the callback. But I still made it in the show, which I was excited for. And
were you just in the ensemble?
I was in the ensemble, but I had this thing where I felt like I needed to create a role for myself because I didn't just want to be, in the ensemble. And I decided that my favorite scene from the movie and from the show is the bar scene with all the guys. And so I decided I wanted to be in the bar scene, and I was willing to do whatever it took to get in the bar scene. And the director said, oh no, like, we can't dress you up as a guy. You're way too